Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a video about my custom DR650 and I've been wanting to do this forever. This bike is very special to me. You can see it is a very special looking DR650, totally modified, and I think it's one of the best looking ones and one of the best running ones in the world for obvious reasons that I'm going to go into in this video. This video is going to be a little bit into depth on the parts that I've used for this. This bike is in Colombia, so I've not been able to do this video before because I don't want to draw too much attention to it. The DR650 in Colombia is a very famous bike. In fact, it's one of the most stolen bikes, or one of the most wanted to steal bikes. It has a special status here and it gets a lot of attention with the police and sort of nefarious people. So I've not wanted to advertise it too much. I've been very limited with where I've posted stuff about this bike. And finally, I am selling it. This video's purpose is not to sell the bike. The bike is going to be sold separately, but it's more that I can share with you and share my experiences in building this bike, so that maybe if you want to do some of the stuff, you can do it yourself. All the pieces that I've put on this will be linked in the description below, so you can see the prices and the types of parts and the exact parts that I've used, so check out the description below. Another reason that I've sold or selling this bike is that over here, if I run a little bit, I have the BMW R9T and the 790 Adventure R, and I'm about to pick up something very special, so you might want to subscribe to the channel for that, maybe give a like. So this is the DR650 and I'm going to go front to back on it. It's very different from what you might be expecting, very sleek and very made up to my own specifications. So to start off with, we have the wheels, and one of the big questions I get asked is what wheels I'm using. This is just powder coated on the originals, and I've had the spokes galvanized. It's very cheap to do that here in Colombia, but it's been about 2 years now since the wheels have been powder coated, and it's been offered a lot, and it's held up absolutely fantastically. The posts here are actually modified using Plasti Dip paint. So the reason I use Plasti Dip, you have to excuse the scooter passing. The reason I use Plasti Dip on this piece is because when the stones come up, it's going to chip the powder coating anyway. So rather than powder coat it, I just top it up with Plasti Dip, and I found it's a really good solution. It needs to be topped up just now, but it does work very well. The brake cable, I'll get into at the top. These covers are the Erebus skins, I guess, what you would call them. Usually they go on the lower part of a fork or whatever, but I put the longer ones up here, and then on the top I have a dirt skin up there. I also have the Erebus grab handle if I ever get stuck and need it to be pulled out. Here, this plastic is from a WRF 450. It is just a generic, and again I'll link that down below. Also, I'm going to link this. This is the KTM aftermarket from AliExpress special. It is brilliant. It is super bright. It projects an excellent beam on it. I don't feel the need to use any additional lighting with this, and over the stock lighting it is just bonkers the difference it makes. Just stick indicators, they've got a little bit of flex in them. Find them very bright, very good, very low profile, and they're super cheap, so you can replace these parts super easy. Up on top, let's go just a cheap set of defences. The bike's been down a couple of times and it is held up well and it's protected. I mean, it did get a little nick on the end of this, but it protected it fairly well. The adjustable brake levers on it, the adjustable mirrors, here and here. A pair of Scott grips on it, and this is a braided brake line by a company in Medellín, Colombia called Raceline. They make fantastic quality stuff for a lot of different bikes, and yeah, they'll fully customize anything you want, so check them out. I'll leave a link to them in the description. Risers on this one are the Rox converting adjustable riser, so it's converting it from the 7/8 up to the bigger size, and on that it's using the Rocky Mountain ATV Tusk Chub bar, I think. Yeah, Tusk Chub. That's a really good bar. As I say, the bike's been down a couple of times and it has held up absolutely fine, no bending to it or anything. The rocks risers I really like as well, because I'll talk a little bit about the body triangle that I've created, where I'll be sitting there. And on the DR650, as I'm sure you know, it's a very compact triangle where your feet are higher, the bars are lower, and you know, it was designed in the 90s for the Japanese market. So by expanding the triangle, dropping the foot pegs, raising the bars, you're going to be a lot more comfortable. And the reason I built this bike was actually I drove from Colombia all the way down to Ushuaia, Argentina. Yes, I did 27,000 kilometers on a DR650, which a lot of people think was mad, but with the comfort modifications I did on it, it was absolutely fine, apart from the wind down at Terra del Fuego was blowing me about all over the place. So what else is on here? The computer, so I totally stripped all the electronics from the bike, all the old stuff, all the ugly lighting systems, the stupid indicator systems. That is all weight. That is all unnecessary weight. And one of the big projects of this bike was to make it as light as possible. And I've not fully weighed it and stuff, but I've weighed some of the stuff that has come off it, and I'm already well over 20 kilograms off the weight of this bike. That's a night and day difference. And you can really feel it in terms of the power. I think that's going to be more of an adjustment than when we messed with the carburetor. So the computer is just from AliExpress. I did have a Trailtech Vapor on it, but somebody decided to rip that off the bike and take it for themselves. So I hope they're enjoying that. And at the same time, they also tried to steal the bike by shoving a screwdriver or something down inside. Yeah, really like the front end of it. Now we're coming to the middle. This is the Erebus. I think it's a 5.2 gallon tank. Really good. Extends the range. I get really good range. There's only one time where I needed to carry fuel in the entire South America trip, and that was down somewhere on the Ruta Cuarenta near the border with Chile. But this really made the difference in the trip, and I found that I was just not refilling as much as I normally would have. Very easy to install this yourself. Also, powder coated here. On the bottom, the defense, we have the underplate, the Erebus plastic one. Now, I was initially skeptical about going with plastic, but this is a game changer. As long as I can get plastic now, and I've got the AXP coming for the KTM, as long as I can get a plastic one now, I'm going plastic, because it's lighter and it's when you get on top of an object, when you're trying to cross over an object and you put the bike up onto it, it slides over that object better. It doesn't seem to catch. It also has really good drainage, and yeah, I've been super impressed. And the type of plastic that this is made out of, you could absolutely smack it with a pickaxe and it should be okay. What else? Larger foot pegs on it there. That was again a comfort modification, but I also have the Pro Cycle lowering kit on the foot pegs. So it drops the foot pegs down by over an inch, I believe. And with the 1.5 inches on the bars, you've expanded the riding triangle so that it's so much more comfortable. Your feet are lower, so your knees aren't as bent, and your shoulders are not as crouched over, and you're putting less pressure onto your hands. So that makes the bike really comfortable. The other modification for comfort is the Seat Concepts gripper top seat. The one that I got for this is where you keep the original plastic base and you remove that, and I just installed this myself and it's held up absolutely perfectly. All you need is some Scotch adhesive spray and a staple gun, and you can install that yourself, and it's so comfortable. But also this grip top surface, when you're moving about on the bike or you're doing something technical, it's really good, because you can grip on here and you can still get a lot of motion around your legs. Plastics are from Pro Cycle. It's the Pro Cycle plastics kit. I think it looks fantastic. I think it adds like a whole different sort of streamlined look to the back of the bike. No more of that ugly stuff, sticking out the top or going for the modification with the DRZ400 light on it. This one is completely streamlined, and I do have a rack for it, a custom rack. On the back, the passenger foot pegs, which if I didn't have a girlfriend I would actually remove, but because they were big, bulky and silver, and I wanted to go for the all black look, this is actually the foot pegs from a Suzuki GSX-R, a lot smaller, a lot sleeker looking, so I really like that. The powder coating on the swing arm is another thing that was such a big modification, and I would definitely recommend it. It was a little bit of work taking it off, but once we got it off, I just think it makes the bike look so much better. I don't know if I've talked about it before, I might be repeating myself here, but this is the Metis EO7 on the back. This is finally, after a lot of experimentation with Carews and more aggressive tires, less aggressive tires, this is the one that I have settled on, and a Battleaxe AX41 on the rear. I have two rim locks on the back, here and here. So there's two rim locks on the back, and there is one rim lock on the front. Again, powder coated on the rear and anodized the spokes. The second question a lot of people ask me about is the exhaust, and the exhaust on this bike is absolutely bonkers. And this is one of the biggest performance benefits in terms of maneuvering the bike, in terms of the bike's speed, in terms of just the aesthetic. Everything is just, it is a Kawasaki Ninja from a 1000cc or something, a litre bike, titanium Kawasaki Ninja exhaust. I don't know if this camera is going to get in there and focus on the exact model number. I don't know if that's showing up in here. But I took it to my local exhaust shop and they modified it and just welded on this extra bracket there and made a mid pipe for it. And it's a little bit louder, but it's not abusively loud. So I think it adds to the aesthetic. But the biggest thing is that you're lobbing off. This thing weighs a couple of kilograms in comparison with 13, 14 kilos on the original exhaust. Night and day difference on the back end, but we had to compensate the rear suspension to account for the sag on that. The back of the plastics, the eliminator people ask about, is actually part of the ProCycle plastic kit. So when you buy the plastic kit, you get the LED rear on the back there as well. What else is on this bike? I'm sure I'm going to forget stuff. Linkage from a German guy that makes the heightening links on it, so it closes it up a little bit. Front suspension, FFRC Australia, and the rear suspension is the ProCycle modified kit for the stock shock, and I've been pretty impressed with it. Yes, I could go for an alternative shock on it, but for what I do and how abused it is, I think it does a pretty good job, and I'm very, very happy with it. As for other modifications, I think that's about it. The carburetor, we did the carburetor modification and the airbox modification, and we have a K&N air filter in there, the foam air filter, and it just opens it up when you're doing the exhaust modification, to open it up and let it breathe a lot more. So it's something that I would definitely recommend you doing. If you're going to mess about with the exhaust, mess about with the air system as well. And finally, turn the computer on. It's in neutral and starts first time. So it's not actually that bad. I would say it's a little bit more than the modifications with the titanium pipes from the other Suzukis, the silver ones that people do. It's a little bit louder than that, but definitely not as loud as like a straight bore or even like, you know, some of the aftermarket ones that you see, like an Akrapovic or something. I think just because it's muffled and it's a real street exhaust, not really an aftermarket exhaust. This is a manufacturer's exhaust. It's not that loud. It's obviously going to sound loud on the video because I'm inside a parking garage with it next to a wall, so the sound's going to bounce off, and I don't know how it's going to appear on the video. But yeah, that is the bike, guys. I've absolutely loved this. As I say, I've ridden this bike from Colombia to Argentina, all around Colombia, and now it's time to let it go. And if this video helped any of you with inspiration, or maybe you want to start modifying yours or build it, it doesn't need to be the pig ugly bike that the DR650 is. This thing is amazing.